Today, our topic is about managing communication. Communication between managers and employees is important because it provides the information necessary to get work done in organization. Thus, there's no doubt that communication is fundamentally linked to managerial performance. First, let's learn about the nature and the function of communication. Communication is the transfer and understanding of meaning. Interpersonal communication is communication between two or more people. Organizational communication includes all the patterns, networks, and systems of communication within an organization. The function of communication include controlling employee behavior, motivating employees, providing a release for emotional expression of feelings and fulfillment of social needs, and providing information. Now that we understand the definition and function of communication, let's continue with some methods of interpersonal communication. The communication process has 7 elements. First, a sender has a message. A message is the purpose to be conveyed. Encoding converts a message into symbols. A channel is the medium a message travels along. Decoding happens when the receiver retranslates a sender's message, and finally feedback occurs. Managers can evaluate the various communication methods according to their feedback, complexity capacity, breadth potential, confidentiality, encoding ease, decoding ease, time-space constraint, cost, interpersonal warmth, formality, scalability, and time of consumption. The communication methods include face-to-face, telephone, group meetings, formal presentations, memos, traditional mail, fax, employee publications, bulletin boards, other company publications, audio and video tapes, hotlines, emails, computer conferencing, voicemail, teleconference, and video conference.
Hi, I'm Thư and I'm going to identify the barriers to effective interpersonal communication and how to overcome them. So, the barriers to effective communication include filtering, emotions, information overload, defensiveness, language, and national culture. So the solution to this is manager can overcome these barriers by using feedback, simplifying language, listening actively, constraining emotions, and watching for nonverbal clues. So that is the end of my part. Now my teammate will continue. Thank you.
Well, let's move to the organizational communication. In this section, we look at several important aspects of organizational communication, including formal vs informal communication, the flow patterns of communication, formal and informal communication networks, and also the workplace design. The first one is the formal vs the informal communication. Well, communication within an organization is described as formal or informal. Formal communication refers to a communication that takes place within prescribed organizational work arrangement, whereas informal communication is organizational communication not defined by the organization's structural hierarchy. The next one is about direction of the communication flow. So there are some ways that organizational communication can flow through downward, upward, laterally, and diagonally. The first type is downward communication, which is communication that flows from a manager to employees. It is used to inform, direct, coordinate, and evaluate employees. When manager assigns goals to their employees, they are using a downward communication. Whereas the upward communication is communication that flows from employees to manager. It keeps managers aware of how employees feel about their jobs, their co-workers, and the organization in general. The third type is lateral communication. That is a communication that takes place among employees on the same organizational level. Is called lateral communication. In today's dynamic environment, like horizontal communication are frequent, frequently needed to save time and facilitate coordination. Well, and the last one is diagonal communication. It's a communication that crosses both work area and organizational levels. A credit analyst who communicates directly with a regional like marketing manager about the customer problem. Note the different department at different organizational level. Use diagonal communication. And the next one is a workplace design and communication. In addition to direction of communication, flow, and organizational communication networks, another factor that influences organizational communication is the workplace design. Well, as managers design a physical network environment, two common design elements have the greatest impact on the communication. First, the enclosure and barriers used in the workplace. Another consideration is like in any open workplace is making sure to have some area where sensitive discussions can take place when needed. As companies shrink workspace to save money, managers need to ensure that the smaller and generally more open workspace are useful and contribute to efficient and effective work. By providing workspaces more where employees can have some privacy and still have opportunity to like collaborative efforts, both interpersonal and personal and organizational communication can flourish and contribute to the organization's overall performance.
Hello, my name is Lynn and I will continue the presentations with proxy communication issues in today's organization. So, let's begin with managing communication in internet world. Email can consume employees, but it's not always easy for them to let go of it, even when they know it can be intoxicating. But email is the only one communication challenge in this internet world. 20% of employees at large companies said they contribute regularly to blogs, social networks, wikis, and other web services. Managers are learning the hard way sometimes that all these new technologies have created special communication challenges. The two main ones are, first, legal and security issues, second, lack of personal interaction. Continue with legal and security issues. Although email, blogs, tweets, and other forms of online communication are quick and easy ways to communicate, managers need to be aware of potential legal problems from inappropriate uses. Electronic information is potentially admissible in court. Managers need to ensure that confidential information is kept. Corporate computer and email systems should be protected against hacker and spam. These serious issues must be addressed if benefits of communication technologies are to be realized. Personal interactions. It may be called social media, but another communication challenge posed by the internet age we live and work in is the lack of personal interaction. It can be especially challenging to achieve understanding and collaborate on getting work done when communication takes place in a virtual environment. Move to managing in the organization knowledge resources. What today's manager needs to do with the organization's knowledge resources is to make it easy for employees to communicate and share their knowledge so they can learn from each other ways to do their jobs more effectively and efficiently. One way that company can do is to build online information database that employees can access. In addition to online information database for sharing knowledge, communication could created by practice, a type of internal collaborations. Next, the role of communication in customer service. Managers in service organizations need to make sure that employees who interact with customers are communicating appropriately and effectively with those customers. Communication is part of special customer service strategies the organization pursues. One strategy that many service organizations use is personalization. Getting employee input. In today's challenge environment, companies need to get input from their employees. When an employee has an idea about a new way of doing something, it went into suggestion box. The last part, communicating ethically, is particularly important today that a company communication effort be ethical. Ethical communications include all relevant information, is true in every sense, and is not deceptive in audience. Another thing is to establish clear guidelines for ethical behavior, including ethical business communication. As a manager, you have a responsibility to think through your communication choice and the consequences of those choices. If you always operate with these two things in mind, you are likely to have ethical communications.
Hi, I'm Thư, and let's move to the case application 1. So the first question is, what do you think of this? Do you agree that email can be unproductive in the workplace? So to me, I think that there are the good and the bad side of email. It can be unproductive in the workplace, but also is essential. Email makes it easier to communicate with someone who may be in a different country, or even when you have a bunch of work to deal with, but have no time to go out and discuss face to face. It's also an easy way to send documents nowadays. However, email can become overwhelming with spams and time consuming to take care of, as well as reduce the productivity when the employees just keep their eyes on the social media. So the next question, were you surprised at the volume of email an average employee receives daily? And what are the challenges of dealing with this volume of email? How much email would you say you receive daily, and has your volume of email increased? Have you had to change your email habits? So an individual on average receives 112 emails a day, and that would account for 14 emails per hour, and half of them are useless and unproductive. So this has become an alarming situation for the organization and the employees. To cut back this situation, organizations are focusing on developing an internal social networking site where employees can discuss, chat, and find out the solution for their issues instantly. But this may be a risk, as they will be focused on chatting rather than doing their task. I myself receive 4 to 6 emails a day, and this volume has been increasing. But I don't think I need to change my email habit as this proportion is not considerable. The next question. What do you think of the email replacement? Some businesses are using more of a social media tool, and in what ways might it be better or worse? I think the social media being used as an email replacement is necessary. People in the world today commonly use the social media, so using it at work to communicate with other employees is an easy tool that many would prefer to use over email. The replacement could be better by adapting a tool that is familiar to all employees, not just for the young generation. On the other hand, allowing workers to use social media for communication could result in a huge distraction. Employees could be tempted to spend time on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or chatting instead of working. So, the last question. What implications can you see for managers and communication from this story? So the first one is facing a worker who has lacked in communication skill. Second, there's no teamwork represented. Third one, communication is the more crucial. Next, without communication, task achievement will be slowed down. And the fifth one is not effective and difficult to understand. So that's the end of my part. Now my teammate will continue. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ngân. Today we're gonna talk about understanding and managing individual behavior. First, let's identify the focus and goals of individual behavior within organizations. Just like an iceberg, it's the hidden organizational elements, which are attitudes, perceptions, norms, etc., that makes understanding individual behavior so challenging. Organization behavior, short OB, focuses on three areas: individual behavior, group behavior, and organizational aspects. The goals of OB are to explain, predict, and influence behavior. Employees' productivity is a performance measure of both efficiency and effectiveness. Absenteeism is the failure to report to work. Turnover is the voluntary and involuntary permanent withdrawal from an organization. Organizational citizenship behavior, short OCB, is discretionary behavior that's not part of an employee's formal job requirements, but it promotes the effective functioning of an organization. Job satisfaction is an individual's general attitude towards his or her job. Workplace misbehavior is any intentional employee behavior that is potentially harmful to the organizations or individuals within the organization.
Hi, I'm Thư and I'm going to explain the role that attitudes play in job performance. The cognitive component refers to the beliefs, opinions, knowledge, or information held by a person. So the affective component is the emotional or feeling part of an attitude, and the behavioral component refers to an intention to behave in a certain way towards someone or something. Job satisfaction refers to a person's general attitude toward his or her job. Job involvement is the degree to which an employee identifies with his or her job, actively participates in it, and considers his or her job performance to be important to his or her self-worth. And organizational commitment is the degree to which an employee identifies with a particular organization and its goals and wishes to maintain membership in that organization. Employee engagement is when employees are connected to or satisfied with and enthusiastic about their job. So job satisfaction positively influences productivity, lower absenteeism levels, lowers turnover rates, and promote positive customer satisfaction, as well as moderately promote OCP and help minimize workplace misbehavior. So individuals try to reconcile attitude and behavior inconsistencies by altering their attitudes, altering their behaviors, and rationalizing the inconsistencies. So this is the end of my part. Now my teammate will continue. Thank you.
While talking about personality, we all have one. Some of us are quiet and passive, whereas others are loud and aggressive. When we describe people using terms such as quiet, passive, loud, aggressive, ambitious, extroverted, loyal, tense, or sociable, we are describing their personalities. An individual's personality is a unique combination of emotional thought and behavioral patterns that affect how person reacts to situations and interacts with others. It is our natural ways of doing things and relating to others. Over the years, researchers have attempted to identify those traits that best describe personality. The two most well-known approaches are the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is MBTI, and the Big Five model. First one popular approach to classifying personality traits is the personality assessment instrument, which is known as MBTI. This 100 question assessment asks people how they usually act or feel in a different situation. On the basis of their answers, individuals are classified as exhibiting a preference in four categories. First one is extroversion or introversion. The second one is a sensing or intuition. The third one is thinking or feeling, and the last one is judging or perceiving. And the question is, how could the MBTI help managers? Like the proponents believe it is important to know these personality types because they influence the way people interact and solve problems. And the Big Five model is like in recent years, research has shown that five basic personality dimensions underlie all others and compass most of the significant variation in human personality. The five personality traits in the Big Five model are extraversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, emotional stability, and the last one is openness to the experience. The Big Five model provides like more than just a personality framework. Research has shown that the important relationships between these personality dimensions and job performance. And move to the additional personality insights. Well, although the traits in Big Five are highly relevant to understanding behavior, they are not the only personality traits that can describe someone's personality. And the five other personality traits are powerful predictors of behavior in organization are first one, locus of control. Next one is machiavellisms. The next one is self-esteem, safe monitoring. The fifth one is risk taking, and proactive personality. And the last one is the resilience.
Hello, my name is Lin, and I will continue presentations with proxy contemporary issues in organizational behavior. Begin manager generational differences. Let's take a look at how Gen Y is changing the workplace. They will make up more than 75% of workforce. Just who is Gen Y? Most definitions include those individuals born from 1982 to 1997. They are bringing new attitudes with them to the workplace. Gen Ys have grown up with an amazing array of experiences and opportunity. They want their work life to provide as well. Dealing with the managerial challenges. Managing Gen Y worker presents some unique challenges. Conflicts and resentment can arise over issues such as appearance, technologies, and management style. One possible solution to accommodate the more casual attire preferred by Gen Y is to be more flexible in what's acceptable. Having grown up with technology, Gen Ys tend to be totally comfortable with it. They quite content to meet virtually to solve problems, while being white baby boomer expert import problem to solve with an in-person meeting. Finally, Gen Y employees want boss who are open-minded, expert in their field, even if they are tech-savvy, organized, teachers, trainers, and mentors, not authoritarian or paternalistic. Respectful of their generation, understanding of their need for work-life balance, providing constant feedback, communicating vivid and compelling way, and providing stimulate and novel learning experts. Gen Y's employees have a lot of offer organization in terms of their knowledge, passions, and abilities. Managers, however, have to recognize and understand the behavior of this group in order to create environments in which group work can be accomplished effectively, efficiently, and without disruption conflict. The last one, managing negative behavior in the workplace. Most managers dread having to deal with difficult employees, however, they can't just ignore the problem. So, what can managers do to manage negative behavior in the workplace is to recognize that it's there. Pretending that negative behavior doesn't exist or ignoring such misbehavior will only confuse employees about what is expert and acceptable behavior. Preventing negative behavior by carefully screening potential employees for certain personality traits and responding immediately and decisively to unacceptable negative behaviors can go a long way towards managing negative workplace behavior. It's also important to pay attention to employees' attitudes because negative is also show up there as well.
Let's move on to case application 1. First question, what is your impression of this employee-friendly culture? And would this work in other organizations? Why? And what will it take to make it work? In my opinion, the company's culture is fantastic and worth working for. But however, maybe not every other organizations can apply this kind of culture because of the cost and the function and depends on the purposes of the organization. It takes money and time for managers to do research carefully and choose wisely what to operate for the company. How might an understanding of organizational behavior help CEO Jim Goodnight lead his company? And how about first-line company supervisor? Jim could base on that information to generate programs or create perks that are suited for his employees. And first-line company supervisors can better understand how employees think and react to their work and tasks. They can do some adjustment to achieve even higher productivity. What do you think has contributed to such low turnover, and why is low turnover good for a company? It is first in how managers care about their employees that contribute to such low turnover. Low turnover means decreasing recruiting, selection, and training costs and work disruptions, so it's always good for a company. Look back at the statement made by the SAS employee on the Best Companies survey. What does that tell you about the importance of understanding individual behavior? Understanding individual behavior can help managers find the best way to manage the company, therefore raising harmony in the workplace, increasing productivity, and attracting more and more talented employees to work for them in a long time.
Continue with the case application to employees first. So let's take a look at some questions. The first one, what is your impressions of an employee's first culture? Would it work in other organization? Why or why not? What would it take to make it work? In my first impressions, as a culture enthuses, empowers and encourages employees across the organization to come up with innovative solutions to operational and customer business challenges. It would work or not depends on each type of organization, type and its employees' behavior. A change in the missions and strategy that fits with the culture basics. Second question, how might an understanding of organizational behavior help CEO Vinay Narwa lead his organization? Be specific. Help both first like the company supervisor, again specific. Organizational behavior is the study of how individual and group behave within an organization and applying such knowledge in improving the effectiveness of an organization. CEO has idea about motivating his workforce. He realized not all employees may share his personality and attitude toward work. The truth pay employment by HCL may motivate some people who actually like his culture and benefits from variable pay, therefore improving productive and higher performance. First line managers fight different type of battle and deal with a different type of employees than the top managers. Move to the third questions. What aspect of personality do you see in this story about HCL? How might the personality traits of HCL employees contribute to make HCL what it is? In my opinion, interpersonal rings prefer verbal activities that offer opportunities to influence others and attack power is aspect of personality in this history. Therefore, employees at HCL are incentive to change, create to generate new ideas and risk-taking. The last questions. Design an employee attitude service for HCL's employee. So here is what I have done for this company. That is the end of my part.